Welcome to Flirting with Realities. Carol, Eric, and I was supposed to come up with a unique, funny introduction, and that was it.
That was great. Yeah.
Never been done before.
I can't believe how creative you are.
Yeah. It really wasn't that hard. I just didn't really think of anything. And it just came to me.
Choking on my own spit. That was so hilarious. Yeah. Obviously.
Okay, so this is usually where I ask you how you're doing, but we're not going to go through that today.
Yeah. We won't bore you with that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. And we talked about it last night, started talking about it last night, and I thought it would be a good conversation. And I guess we can shift out it if you want to. But I've been thinking about manifestation, what it is, if it's real, if it's fake, if it's placebo. How do you do it if it is real? I think it's we were watching a commercial on YouTube, and I started cracking up because the girl nonchalantly says like, "Hey guys, just here at the lake, and I'm practicing mindfulness, and I'm manifesting abundance. It's just what I'm doing." And I was like, what? You were there. I was like laughing. I'm like, what? What are we doing here? Now we're just talking about everybody's just manifesting something. Like, who even knows what this means? Like, and is it working? And are people doing it? This is what we talk about. Is like, what is reality? Are people like? I mean, do you really think there's like a large amount of people that are like sitting down and manifesting? Like, I mean, a large amount that are sitting down and manifesting things all day, every day?
What do you consider a large amount?
I mean, greater than 1%.
I mean, I think there is an awakening happening for sure. And it's having a domino effect, but I'm not sure if people are manifesting.
Well, how about we start off? I think you had a good definition last night. Like, can you define what you think manifesting is?
I can't remember what I said exactly verbatim. Do you remember what I told you?
I think manifesting is. I think you had a really good definition. I think the definition was something like making something a reality.
Yeah.
And I think it was good definition because it kind of separated thought. It doesn't need to be like an idea that you're manifesting. It can be anything.
Yeah. It can be a relationship, a career, a identity shift, a place to live. It can be all sorts of things.
Which all those could be twisted into ideas, but I think how did you say it last night? It was more like it doesn't have to be an idea. It can be just like something that happens to you. That's not even an idea. I don't know how you said it, but it was really good last night. But
It's gone now.
yeah, I guess we were talking about. I was like, the thing to me is like, what is manifesting? Is it even real, or is it something that we all talk about? Because what if you never heard the word manifesting, and you're like, well, I want to go pick some apples today, and then you go pick apples. Is that manifesting? Do you think that's manifesting?
I mean, I think manifesting the way we're hearing it constantly right now is a spiritual term that's being discussed with like a lot of people becoming aware that they live from a place of ego and like a software program that's running, and this manifestation term that's being used in the spiritual world is very related to becoming aware that you have an ego, becoming aware of your thoughts, and detaching from outcome of your life, but also surrendering, accepting things as they are, and but also understanding that you have a creative part in your reality.
Well, some people do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're becoming aware that you have an ego and that you have been living in an identity and that you are not that identity, that you're something bigger than that, and this is what I believe. So, um yeah, that you're capable of becoming something more and shifting your reality, creating your reality.
So, what do you think it'd be fair to say manifesting? You could maybe describe it as directing your life.
Yeah, so basically, what I believe is we are like, we grow up and we're conditioned by our parents, society. You basically grow up believing that you, like, I am Carol Wilson. I believe that I'm Carol Wilson, and I believe these stories that I've been like taught by my parents, by relationships, by society. And when you start becoming aware of that you have these thoughts going on and that you are not these thoughts, you start to become consciously aware that there is a presence inside of you. Am I getting way too deep into manifestation? Anyway, that's where I believe from a place where you can manifest. Really.
Okay, but I thought one of the interesting things we got into last night is how, well, the thing is so manifesting to me is a lot like people who pray. I think praying could be manifesting in a way, right? Maybe not.
Not the way I was raised with prayer. A lot of people just ask for things, and
Well, but that was actually my point I was going to get to. Is that's my problem with manifesting? Is I feel like manifesting is like,
asking for things.
yeah, I want a Corvette,
No.
and that's how people manifest too. Is they go like, I'm going to cut out a bunch of pictures of Corvettes and I'm going to stick them on
That's
my
a
wall.
vision board, and it's not manifesting. Manifesting is, to me, more involved than that. It's, again, the very first part of it is there's three things you have to do. You have to accept everything as it is and not have any sort of, I always forget that word.
Resistance?
Yes, you can't have any resistance. You accept it as it is. You surrender it into the abyss, the universe, to God. You detach from outcome, but you also have to be, do, have. You have to believe that it's yours. So there's no praying and saying, God, please give me this Corvette that I want. There's none of that. There's no, you believe that it's done. And there is no doubt at all. So there is this be, then you do, which is the action part of it, right? So um, let's say in our circumstance, we're being entrepreneurs, right? And the do part of it is we're doing what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Okay. And then you act as you have it, which we've been like formulating all of this. Like, we have been be, do, have. And if you be, do, have, and you let go, detach from outcome, and have zero resistance, that is where there is this formula of manifestation.
What is the have part?
Be, do, you have it. Like, you have it. It's yours. You're being it. you take action, and then it's yours.
Having it is the outcome, though.
It's all a belief. You just know you have it. But
it's not being. Is knowing you have it.
being is you are that person. Okay, let me give you another example. Let's say there is a gentleman who wants to become a ladies' man, and he's a nerd. Okay, so he needs to be, do, have, right? So he needs to act as if he's a ladies' man. He needs to start dressing like a ladies' man. He needs to get his hair done. This is the being. And the doing will be taking action. He may need to start talking to women and going places where he can be a ladies' man. But in the have is believing that he has it, without a doubt.
Okay. That makes a little more sense.
It gets a little weird because you're detaching from outcome, right? So the have isn't like praying for it. You have it. It's yours. But you have to take action towards it, but without resistance.
The having sounds hard because it's like if you believe that you have it, isn't that the outcome?
It should be, but a lot of people base life on reality. So if they don't get it in 2 weeks, they're like, I've been doing everything I was supposed to do. Where is it? You have to, regardless of your reality that is in your face and the timeline, it could take 6 years.
Well, and I think it kind of leads into one of the more interesting parts I think we talked about last night, where manifesting isn't always a positive term. Manifesting can be a very negative term. I mean, people destroy their lives because they manifest negative things. You want to go back to like dating and girls or guys or whatever, and like girls can be like, I just want a guy that has a job, and she's always, or I want a guy that doesn't beat me, and she always gets together with a guy that beats her. You know what I mean? It's like somehow she manifests that.
Her be, do, have, her being is her lack of worthiness, and you can't fake your be, right? If you feel unworthy inside, you're not doing the be, do, have part.
Yeah, I was just trying to make the point that there's also negative manifesting, and it's unintentional.
No, yeah,
unintentional manifesting. And the interesting part to me was to talk about how easy it is to do the negative unintentional manifesting. It's not only is it easy, it's natural, and it's what we call the devil in our heads or whatever encourages it. It wants you to go down the wrong road oftentimes. And so that was my question, is like, when you kind of start bringing that up, is there's negative manifesting or unintentional manifesting. But then that really made me realize that manifesting in a positive way is done by clearing out your closet. And you have to get rid of that devil in your head, and you have to, like you say, you have to change, and you have to be. So I think that's where, for me, and maybe a lot of people get confused, is I am manifesting. Okay, so I'm a girl that like finds all the wrong guys, and I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna manifest. I'm gonna watch The Secret movie, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna have a good guy, a guy that treats me right. But I don't change. I don't do any like work on myself. I don't. I do all the same stuff. And so then that's what you're saying. Well, I'm not being anybody different. So it doesn't matter what you put on your vision board. It doesn't matter any of that crap. You have to do.
We do have.
Yeah, you have to do things that a girl who doesn't get beat does, which is, number one, choose the right guy. But it's more about you than it is the guy.
It is. There's work that needs to be done, or you're going to continue to attract. It's exactly what you're saying. If the work is not done, you're going to continue to attract that kind of person.
Yeah,
The internal work.
which is interesting though, because that's where girls go, oh men are just so, they're impossible. But it's not the men, it's you.
Yeah.
It's you. You're a magnet.
Yeah. Anytime, this could be really helpful to a lot of people, but if you've had massive breakups and you're holding some sort of grudge, until you let that go, you're likely not going to have a extremely fulfilling and healthy relationship. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, because I think mostly you're taught how to love through when you were a child. And if you had a mother that just yelled at you and nagged at you, that's what you associate love with. That's what you learn what love was like. And so now all of a sudden, if you're some guy that enjoys women that yells at him or nags at him or abuses you in a certain way, you can't manifest your way out of that. I mean, you can't just dream your way out of that. You can't hope your way out of that. You have to actually make some changes.
I know this probably is going to sound really esoteric, but I believe that, like, we're here to learn things, and that you just repeatedly get these lessons smacked in your face, and maybe even worse, until you are like, holy fuck, how did I find myself here again? And you finally can look internally at the it's hard to look internally. It's hard to say, you want to say this fucker did this to me, but if you, like Andy said yesterday, if you take full responsibility for where you're at and you are not a victim, that is how you get out of these fucked up situations. That is how you take the power and you say, no, there is no resentment here. I got myself here. How did I get myself here? And it can be ugly. You can have to look internally and say, oh my God, this is so ugly how I got here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess coming back to manifestation though, it's I think when most people manifest things, what would you guess are manifesting? They're manifesting relationships and careers, big stuff, like huge stuff. And so I think that's the interesting part for me to think about is like, so if you want a new career, let's say you're meditating and you're manifesting a new career. I think you're right. You gotta imagine yourself in that career, and then you gotta go apply for jobs. I mean, you can't just like, you could just wait for somebody while you're working at McDonald's to come up and be like, wow, you're a really great worker. Do you want to come work for IBM?
You can't wait. It's like Aaron Doty talks about. He was working as a woman's shoe salesman at a high-end retail store.
It's all married with children, like.
Yeah. But he kept, like, he had like some famous guy come in who was like a self-help guru, and he just like thought this guy should say to him, like, Aaron, like, you'd be perfect at this. Why don't you like go start doing self-help and spirituality work? And like, he finally came to the conclusion that no one was going to come rescue him, and he had to dive in the be do have. He like chose to start doing YouTube videos every single day. Why he still had his full-time job. You have to be do have, but then he had to believe that he was worthy and could help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a formula.
So I think you got to do the be do have.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what I'm saying is there was another dimension added for me last night when you were explaining it, maybe, which is you can't really be or do unless you clean out that closet. So it's not that you like want a new career and you're working at McDonald's. Nothing wrong with McDonald's, by the way. I think any job in the world is a legit job. Any job that's making money, I think, as long as you're not just sitting there collecting money. But if you want to quit McDonald's, you want to go work a corporate job, and make a ton of money, you got to figure out. I guess you got to try to be and do, but you can't walk into IBM and be like, "What's up, bitches? Give me a fucking job." You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying about clearing out the closet. Like you can't. That person's not getting hired.
Yeah.
And so you can try to be and do, but I think that's the hard part, right? Is like, well, how do I be and do? Because sometimes I don't even know what I look like. Most of the times I don't even know what I look like. So how do I know if I'm being and doing what this person who should be being and doing does? You know, and I think that's probably a lot of the part where we all get hung up on this manifestation is we're like, okay, well, I'm going to be a millionaire. And so this is what they do. And so this is who I'm going to be. And you're that guy walking into IBM going, give me a job, dickheads. And they're like, dude, like, no. And so it's like, I think that's where probably I and most people get stuck is how do you, like, you wouldn't really know that that's the problem because you're like, I walked into IBM and I was being the person I needed to be. And they just said no.
This is where hanging around someone who could be a mentor to you in this circumstance, like, and tell you like ways that you could like not call people dickheads when you're asking for a job. You can simply go start watching Alex Hermosi, or you do need to figure it out.
But you know what's funny is there's people that get away with it. Like for lack of a better example, like somebody like Kid Rock. Kid Rock's like throwing the finger at everybody. And he's like, I'm gonna be a rock star and screw all you people. And people are like, I love it. Let's make him famous.
That was part of his like appeal.
Yeah, really. But that's what I'm saying is like it works for some people. So it's not like there's a magic equation.
Yeah, but I don't think Kid Rock was spiritually manifesting what he did. I think he was old school, work hard, and believed in himself for sure. So there was part of that formula there, but I don't think he was aware, like spiritually aware of what was going on.
Well, I mean, but how many, I guess that's confusing too, is because how many great people just got there by mistake? I mean,
well, I think they had a very good formula.
By mistake, though, it was just determinism, right? They just wound up there, like
I wouldn't say mistake.
No, it's not a mistake. It was determined. It was just what was going to happen. It was just their recipe was on point.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But I don't know. It's all interesting to me and really hard for me to grasp too, because how many people that quote unquote manifest this and are spiritual did it by manifesting, and how can you say it was through manifesting and not just through their special recipe?
It could be. I don't think we can ever really say, even me. I mean, I believe I've manifested a lot of things. I mean, I know I have.
Okay, but I'm so confused, I guess, right now. So you manifested something. You manifested our relationship.
I did.
So how do you know that you manifested our relationship versus how do you know that's just not what would have happened to you anyway? Whether or not you however you want to say it, manifested or put mental effort into it or whatever, how do you know that just wasn't going to happen?
Because if I wouldn't have made effort and done inner work, we wouldn't have been compatible at all.
Well, yeah, but that's not the manifesting part, right? That was you
That was
taking
my
care of
be do
yourself.
have.
Okay, so you include doing personal work into your be do have.
For sure.
Okay, well, that's the confusing part. So, do you feel like the be do have is way more significant than just, well, I guess the visualizing is the be, right?
The
You're,
meditating and visualizing.
I think this is, yeah, I think this is where I'm getting confused because I feel like manifestation is just a thing that people do when they're meditating or, dreaming or hoping. To me, that's what manifestation is for most people. Is they're just like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna hope. I'm gonna hope, or I'm gonna ask a bunch of people to do it for me till it gets done. Which I don't think that's manifestation either. By the way,
I don't.
I think that's called manipulation. Um,
I think most people would just sit there for eternity.
oh, I think most people, quote unquote, get manifestation through just manipulating people. Like I've been a part of it where people are like, hey, will you go get me a soda at the store? And you're like, okay. And they're like, I manifested that. And like literally, I've been part of that where they're just like, yeah, I manifest it. And they just ask people for things, which I guess you hope for it and it showed up. I guess it did work, but it's like, it's also just manipulation, I think. I don't know. This is what I'm saying. I feel like I've never understood what manifestation actually is.
I think that is just not even close to manifestation to me. If someone's
No, that's what I'm saying.
asking you for something or manipulating you to get something, I don't believe that's manifestation.
I mean, I guess in a way it is, right? Because you wanted it and you got it somehow. Like you visualized it and you got it somehow. But I don't know. It's like how powerful were you? Not really.
Well, that's using someone else to try and get something.
Yeah. So anyway, my point is though is this whole manifestation is. I guess I've never understood it. I've never understood what it means, and I feel like I'm still just barely starting to understand it.
Yeah, get it?
So when you say you manifested our relationship, that means you be do have. You went through those steps.
I did.
I guess that makes a lot more sense now. So we were talking last night about somebody great like Michael Jordan. I guess we just kind of talked about like Kid Rock, which whether or not you like Kid Rock or anything, it's still he's a very small percentage of people, whether you like him or not. He
I
has
do
done
like
special
him.
things.
Yeah, I do like him, actually.
Um, I don't know Kid Rock. I don't know Michael Jordan. But like you're saying, my assumptions are that it was just kind of their determinism, it was kind of their special recipe. But you watch somebody like Michael Jordan, and like that guy knew who he was going to be. He demanded who he was going to be. He demanded the people around him be the people that would support somebody like him. Like whether or not he intentionally did it, he created something amazing. And I don't know if that just came natural to him.
I think we've both seen the power of a mindset.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful thing, like extremely powerful. If you believe that you're going to suck at something, if you're nervous and scared, you're going to suck at something. if you believe that, like, you have so much power today and so much energy, nobody can defeat you, you are likely to be like a god that day and no one will touch you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. But I guess my thought was, could Michael Jordan have been just as great if he wasn't like an obsessive asshole? Could he just been calm about it?
I don't think he would have been the same Michael Jordan. I think
Well, and so I was thinking, so I kind of had this thought last night. I'm like, I think I mean, how am I supposed to judge Michael Jordan, right? Like, that guy was a little bit beyond very special. He was like magical. So I'm thinking about him, like, how can I judge him? Like, but the thing is, like, maybe I can judge him in the sense of not being a basketball player, but what about overall happiness? And maybe he was such an amazing, special person that he could have actually even been better. I mean, that's not too crazy for me to think about if he would have taken different actions. Um, but I kind of like sit there and think like, man, this guy was obsessed and he was crazy and he drove people mad, and that's how he got there. And so like I think like, well, it's not all bad, and I don't know if that's explaining it well. But then I started thinking about something else we knew, and I don't know if you'll catch on to who I'm talking about. But this person is doing great things, but then like I subscribed to their service, and then I was reading stuff that they were saying, and they're like, I don't care if you subscribe to my stuff or not. Like, you'll just do what you do. Like, have fun. And I was thinking about that person. I was like, they're kind of on the other end of the spectrum where they're not controlling it and they're not caring. And I feel like they're going to lose support. Where I feel like Michael Jordan on the other end is like, push, 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 go, go, go. Yes, you're going to. Yes, you're going to. And I feel like you can't really lose as easy as the other way of being like, hey man, like I don't care, like do what you want to do, have fun, like you know what I mean, like. So I guess I was just looking at the whole manifestation thing of like pushing. I think last night I came to the decision that it's a balance. It's a very like a definite balance because of what we talked about. Like you got to have a clean closet if you're going to make things happen, and you're not just naturally gifted and you don't have this recipe. You've got to clean out your closet and you got to be a really good person. And I think like this person I'm talking about that's like, hey man, do what you want. I don't, it kind of seems like maybe you need to work on a couple things, because like I think you should encourage people to like you and be with you and like be an empath and like, you know, that kind of stuff. Um, so I think you kind of drift away from him, but I don't know if maybe you don't need to go to the Michael Jordan side, but I guess what I'm saying is like there's a middle. But I think you nudge that middle to the Michael Jordan side on the manifestation part just a little bit, maybe not all the way. Does that make sense?
I mean, I think everybody's walk is their walk. And I think that there is a balance. And I don't think you nudge it. I mean, I think you are the only one who can say which way you need to nudge for yourself.
Yeah.
If that makes any sort of sense. But I know who you're talking about, and it's hard to say. I mean, he seems like he's doing perfectly fine. And I don't know.
I don't know either. That's what I'm saying. This is all new to me. And
I definitely think there is something to be said about hard work and determination, but I don't think it's required. I think about a couple of those stories I read in Think and Grow Rich, and I don't, was it Alexander Graham Bell? I can't remember who it was, but it was basically the guy who like ended up saying, like, he wanted to work with Thomas Edison, I think it was, and I think it was Alexander Graham Bell, and he basically wouldn't take no for an answer. And he had passion and went and worked with Thomas Edison for free, like sold everything he had so he could buy a train ticket to go see him, believed that this was going to happen. And I mean, it eventually did because of passion, which I think you can have passion and dedication and not have anxiety. And I know it's easy to say, but I think it's possible. And I think it's the balance you're talking about. I think you can be, do, have without tormenting yourself. If that makes any sort of sense. I think you can have balance with it. But I mean, everybody's walk is their walk. Maybe this person you were talking about hasn't fully cleaned out his closet and has a few things to learn. And maybe this is part of his journey of learning something about himself that he hasn't unfolded yet, which we're all unfolding at different rates.
Yeah, and I guess it's interesting to think about because if, to me, from where I'm sitting, if I'm judging, which whatever, like I looked at his action and it's like, oh well, that's going to hold him back, and then that goes back to us talking about cleaning out your closet, and maybe he's manifesting that he's the biggest thing that ever happened, and he's not sure why he's not the biggest thing that ever happened, and it's because he's like, well, take it or leave it. This is what I give you. You know, and
Yeah,
it's got that attitude.
He
It's
could
like,
still be unfolding lessons, and he hasn't gotten there yet.
yeah, so it's less of a like pushing and trying hard and more of a cleaning out your closet thing.
I think it's about unfolding. And yeah, you can call it cleaning out your closet. I think you're forever unfolding. You continue to have lessons to learn and just being open to that. And really, I guess, compassionate for sometimes people are just still learning lessons.
Yeah, and I guess if you wanted to, you could look at Michael Jordan as like maybe he had some things in his closet he needed to be dealt with, but I think it was just his recipe because, you know, if he was being a dick to the rest of his teammates, sometimes that's a good thing because sometimes some people need motivation and fear being a factor and that gets results, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily like spiritually a good thing to go through. It's just a way to get results. So it's interesting to think like how he, but the thing is his closet was fucking sparkling when it came to like confidence. Like there is nothing left over in there.
Yeah, but he went through a lot. I mean, if you remember that documentary, like he lost his father, he like left the game. Like it doesn't seem like he was living from a place of happiness and peace.
No, and that's what I'm saying though, is his path of success didn't necessarily need his entire closet to be sparkling clean. Just his confidence corner
Yeah.
and then his controlling corner. Like everything, like his recipe was good, but it's not necessarily, and I think that's a confusing part too, as you look at results and you go, hey, this guy was the best basketball player ever. So I mean he had his shit figured out. Like, well, no, he just had a recipe that worked really good to be a basketball player. If you wanted him to be like maybe he wasn't a great dad. I don't know. Maybe he was an awesome dad, but like there could be other issues. There's probably things that Michael Jordan wants in life that he can't figure out. You know, maybe it's relationships or maybe it's this or that. And so he also has some work to do. It's just he had the right recipe to be a great basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch someone that gets so driven to win, there's no peace there. Like, he's living without peace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he had something great, but how much can you enjoy that if you're I mean, it's his journey. Maybe like he's not meant to unfold and feel peace. I can't speak for that, but there is not a peace there, and it doesn't seem like there's a gratitude really either.
Mm. But I guess it makes me. The reason I was bringing it up is because I can only imagine that he manifested it. So I'm just thinking about all this. So I guess you can manifest many things, and you don't have to have all your ducks in a row in certain aspects of life to manifest certain things. But certain things you do. You know, that's like if Michael Jordan didn't want a wife that beat him, he might, you know, it's not like just because he manifested championship after championship doesn't mean he's going to go find a girl that doesn't beat him,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
I guess
Sure.
like you kind of hold somebody like him on a pedestal and you go, oh my gosh, this guy's great. But he's just like the rest of us in many other ways. You know, like if basketball didn't exist, would you think he's a great person? I don't know.
Hard to say.
Yeah. So I think there's like a lot to think about when you're talking about what manifestation is, but coming back to that commercial, it's just hilarious. Well, that girl's manifesting abundance. It's like, oh, okay, so you just need a chai tea and you need a lake, and then all of a sudden you just sit down and all of a sudden you make your life a better place. And that's what we're all doing now.
Well, I think another thing too is it's a fad, and there are a lot of people who are jumping on the bandwagon to like become popular and be on social media. And I mean, is it real? That's the question. But I don't know if that's real. It doesn't sound real.
Yeah. I don't know. I got more to say about that, but I won't. Some people who have things pretty easy can kind of go, yeah, I just manifest things and this and this. And it's like, no, you just kind of have an easy life. Like, but you're
Yeah.
giving a lot of credit to manifestation when if you were like some 500-pound fat dude, like life might not be so easy.
Yeah.
And let's see you manifest your way out of that one. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to add?
No, but that was a fun one.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about. You know, what is manifestation? I mean, I've got a way better idea between last night and today, but it's been like an interesting conversation because it's changed my mind. Like I said, I didn't even know what we were talking about. Really, I thought it was something else, and I thought it was just how to get things done, which I guess it is, but it's a totally different way, and it'll be good because then I can think about my life. And you know, you and I have talked a lot about resistance, and I don't know. This is a funny thing to say, but I've been resistant to understanding resistance, and but there's been a couple moments where I've been like, oh boy, like that's exactly what resistance means. And so it's been really good for me. And I think it'll be good for me to look at resistance and just look at this manifestation thing in general. Like if you want to direct your life in a certain way, you've got to understand why there's roadblocks, because it's not actually thinking about things and then getting it. It's like trying to direct your life in a certain way and then figuring out why you're not able to go that path. Like, what is the roadblock? Is it you? Is it the thing? Well, it's you, you know, but what part of you is not allowing you to go this direction?
Yeah.
What do you have to change to not find a guy that smacks you around anymore? What part of you, or is it many parts of you?
what can I learn from this is something I started saying a long time ago.
Yeah. That's
Like,
a good
rather
one.
than why is this happening to me? What can I learn from this is super helpful.
That's a hard one though.
It is.
You know, like I look at the girl that like gets beat and it's like, well, what do I learn from this? And like it's kind of hard. Like it's easy. Maybe that's the easiest way to figure that out is to talk to somebody and say, you tell me what you see.
I hate to say this, but it's like what's his name talking about being on that mule. Tom Green.
Tom Green,
yeah. The mule is going to feel your fear, or if you can't direct it which way to go, and it's going to start
insecurities and everything.
Yes, and I hate to say that because abuse is not okay. You know, I don't want anyone to be in an abusive situation, but we have a responsibility of how we got there. And if you are willing to take that on and take your power back and not be a victim of your circumstance, which is really fucking hard. I know how hard it is. I've never been physically abused, but I've been verbally abused. And it's hard not to blame someone. It's hard to go, oh my God, I fucking got myself here. It's nobody else's fault but mine. It's a hard thing to face, but that's what can get you out of an abusive situation. Is understanding your part in it. And that's going to be how you don't get in that situation again.
Yeah. It's super difficult to know what you're doing wrong. It's just hard to look at yourself. Really hard to look at yourself.
It's really hard. I still have moments where I'm like, I can't believe I've like not seen something about myself, and that it can be ugly to look at.
Yeah.
But that is where you find change.
Well, lots to chew on. Okay, really, you got anything left this time?
No, that was it.
Yeah. Well, we're sitting at 47 minutes, so it was a little bit longer.
A little bit.
All right, well, we'll see you next week with whatever we're thinking about.
Yeah, sounds good.
Check us out on Spotify or YouTube. Goodbye.
Bye.